Greetings. Going to do a quick consideration of more of the Constitution. Past few videos been talking about the different parts and different aspects. I've also been overcoming this hay fever, pollen kind of stuff and the coughing, so I hope I don't cough today. Right now, I want to read the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Pretty particular, pretty specific. The amendment to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, were insisted upon by many people in order to gain their support for the actual Constitution, because they said in their infinite wisdom that 50 years later, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, there will be people who think these are not rights, unalienable rights. They will think that these are somehow privileges, or they won't even think that much. They'll just say government can do whatever it wants, or the majority can enforce whatever it wants. Recognize it's not always government that our Constitution protects us from. It is the majority, or the loud, people so loud they seem like they might be the majority. We individually are secure in our person, in our house, our residence, our papers, meaning our correspondence, our communication. How does that apply with emails and texts and the like? And we're secure in our effects, meaning our possessions, our property. We are secure against unreasonable searches and seizures. Not searches and seizures, but unreasonable. So there you go. Key word there is what is reasonable and what is unreasonable. You have to consider that. You have to grapple with that. What's a reasonable search and seizure? We've many times over the course of this country come to, well, what is reasonable and what isn't? And it's probably a discussion, let alone debate, that will never end, because inevitably when you get, even if you have a good definition, when you get people involved, people can take it to excess. And you see, oh, well, yeah, that would be reasonable if these people were reasonable. So we've got that ongoing active consideration of what works, what's appropriate, and what doesn't work, and what isn't appropriate. We, the people, are the right of our people, we, the people, is secure. And no warrants, meaning governmental action against us as an individual through the courts giving power to law enforcement, no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause. Now, I'm not a lawyer. My hat's off to lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I've read this, I've studied it. I'm a student of history. I'm also an American. I've lived this. So I'm not speaking authoritatively as a constitutional scholar. But I'm also going to point out to you that Barack Obama was a constitutional scholar. Check out some of his actions as president where he did not have the constitutional authority to do what he did, but he did it anyway. Check those out. Even when he said he knew he didn't have the power, he still did them. So being a constitutional authority, okay, keep that in mind. Probable cause is the key word. You have to have probable cause, which must be supported by oath or affirmation. And even within that, it has to be specific about who is going to be searched, where or when or how or what. You don't get to go beyond any of that. And you have to make your case to separate. This is why we have the judiciary. Separate, the judge has to actually hear it and say, okay, I understand that you might be suspicious, but you haven't given reason why you should be granted a warrant to go into that person's home or into that person's effects or that person's communications. The judge is in that position to say, you have to prove it. See the previous video about, okay, you have to prove it. So we have our right, and the government has to prove, has to demonstrate to impartial, unbiased, a judge or court that is needed for them to invade our privacy more, to use a term. Now here's an example when that breaks down. Here's an example. In 2016, there was an election, and in order to work to oppose Trump, many did things that, in the light of day, should probably land them in prison. The Steele dossier, and again, I've covered this before, the Steele dossier was paid for ultimately by Hillary Clinton. It was a fabrication in order to make it look like Trump had colluded with the Russians to affect the election. The irony that Hillary Clinton was paying to affect the election is lost on most of these people, but we'll leave that for another conversation. The Steele dossier was used by the FBI in court as an oath and affirmation, probable cause, that they then obtained warrants to spy on Americans. Once again, I do not care what you think about Trump. I don't care what you think about any of that. The FBI, an law enforcement agent of the government, used a fabrication paid for by Hillary Clinton to obtain warrants, see this Fourth Amendment, warrants, to spy on Americans. Steele dossier was a fabrication. The FBI knew it was. I surmise, I conclude, but they did it anyway. But they told the judge, they affirmed oath and affirmation. That's what they affirmed. The power of government is enormous, especially when that power is in the hands or can be used by those who have a specific agenda. Stopping Trump reveals this agenda, reveals who these people, what these people were about. So we must stop and look at them and say, if Trump were so bad, you shouldn't have had to fabricate anything. If Trump were so bad, You shouldn't have had to affirm something to the court that you knew wasn't true. You shouldn't have had to manipulate the system if Trump were as bad as you said. See, that's, to me, in my not humble opinion, that is where it catches. If Trump were as bad as they made him out to be, open the book, put it on the table, everyone can see it. But what we see is this repeated manipulation, fabrication to get at him. I, again, do not care what you think about Trump. What I care about is that you join me in questioning why these people were so. What were they so afraid of? What were they so afraid of? What did Trump trigger in them? Comment, discuss. Let's open our minds to the possibilities. Let's not limit the possibilities to what you hear in the media. Stop. Don't do that. You think, you consider. These people have been lying to you. They've been misrepresenting. They've been distorting. They've been manipulating our system to gain and to attack Trump in this particular case. Why? Son of Liberty 2020, amliberty2020 at gmail.com. The Liberty Hub. Let's discuss, consider, debate. I don't have a set answer. I do know what I've seen. Till next time.